The 49ers are heading into the first round with pressure, questions, and a roster that's closer than a lot of people think, but also more fragile than people want to admit to. So the question is simple. What direction are the 49ers going to go in when they're on the clock in the first round? Today, I'm not just giving you names. I'm telling you what the 49ers are thinking, what they should do, and ultimately who I believe the 49ers will pick in the first round of the 2026 NFL Draft. Let's get it. Welcome to the Cayman's Island podcast, where we talk all things San Francisco 49ers. I'm your host, David Cayman. Look, faithful, we are less than a week away from the 2026 NFL Draft, and it's time for me to make this pick. Now, last year, at number 11 overall, I got this thing right. I said all along the Niners were going to pick Mykel Williams. And they did. So hopefully this year we can go back-to-back and make this thing 2 in a row. Now, honestly, guys, I've talked to a lot of 49ers faithful. I've talked to some guys that's followed the 49ers just as long, if not longer than I have, if that's even something that's possible. Folks that know the 49ers draft tendencies inside and out, break down film, do great film study, and I don't know what it is. And I know it goes against all conventional wisdom. I've just felt like all along something's going to be different this year about this particular draft. Maybe it's John Lynch saying all along that pass rush is going to be the focus, right? That the fact that the Niners had by far the least amount of sacks last season, worse than the Jets. To say the Niners have a stat worse than the Jets is insane. Just thinking about the fact of how many games the Niners were able to win, all the adversity they experienced, and still had such a good season, still pulling off a great road playoff victory. And for whatever reason, this whole offseason, I felt like a trade is coming. Okay, I felt like the 49ers want to trade back, get some more picks. And again, I know it goes against kind of the grain of what the 49ers have done, what John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, this regime has even done since being here and drafting year in, year out. Typically, the Niners draft a position that have big-time financial ramifications with a fifth-year option that helps the team out at a big money position, right? An edge rusher, defensive tackle, wide receiver. And it makes sense. That would be just the same-o. But really, when you think about this, has this really paid off? If you just go back and look at it, just take a look at when DeForest Buckner was traded for a first-round pick. We went after Javon Kinlaw. Again, D tackle, big money position. You're going to get that fifth-year option. Didn't really work out. You go back even further, like the first year. Solomon Thomas, right? Reuben Foster. I initially thought they smashed that draft, knocked it out of the park. Unfortunately, it really didn't work out. You take a look at a couple of years ago with Ricky Pearsall. You stretch for the guy you like. You know you're going to have that fifth-year option. And look, I like Ricky Pearsall. But the fact is, he just cannot stay healthy. So if this is another season where Ricky gets out here and misses 10 games, I don't even think you get to that fifth-year option. This regime's been together a long time, and I just feel like for whatever reason, this year, more so than ever, they do something to mix this thing up a bit, okay? I feel like the Niners are about to double down in the trenches, but in a different way, where they're not going to go out here and go edge, D-tackle. I really feel like they're going to reverse this thing up and go offensive line. I really do. I think the 49ers' first overall pick, if they don't trade it, and I've said it all along, I feel like there's going to be some sort of trade down. Again, Goes against everything we've ever seen this regime do. Just call it a gut feeling. I was right last year. Maybe I feel like I'm playing with house money here. But I really feel like they're not only going to go offensive line, but they may even try to go after the heir apparent to my man Trent Williams. I do feel like Trent is going to get paid. He's going to get his money. But here's the deal. The Niners have to begin addressing this offensive line. And I think it's really going to start. If the 49ers stay at 27, I feel like they're going to go ahead and go offensive line. And the guy I feel, if this man is available at pick number 27, it's funny because I remember doing a show and calling this name out before before the combine. And I feel if Kadyn Proctor is on the board at 27, and I know based on everything I've seen over the past few weeks, it's a long shot for him to make it all the way down to 27. But if Kadyn Proctor's there, you run the card up. 6'7", 360, massive frame, rare size. And he's not just big. He's bigger than what the typical NFL tackle looks like, which is usually around that 315-pound range. And that's what just makes him different. He's dominant in the run game, perfect for a Kyle Shanahan scheme. And let's say Trent comes in and you throw him over there at left guard. I think that's an instant upgrade. I think Kadyn Proctor on any spot on that line, okay, anywhere you want to plug him in at, is going to be an upgrade. This is a mammoth of a man. I think he's an anchor in pass protection. He's got a high ceiling with elite traits. And this is a tone setter pick. This is a guy who changes the identity of your offensive line right at the beginning. Kadyn Proctor isn't just a pick. It's a statement that the 49ers are doubling down on winning in the trenches. And it would not surprise me whatsoever if the very next pick in round 2 at 58, they go guard. There's a couple of guys, if you watched the last show, that I'd love for them to get at guard in the second round. And I recognize that pass rush is a priority as well. I just feel like the offensive line has been overlooked in the early rounds, and it should be a priority. Now, I know a lot of folks are going to say, all right, David, what if Proctor's gone? Then what? What's your backup plan? And this is where things get interesting. I feel like if Kadyn Proctor is gone, how about a guy the 49ers had a top 30 visit with? And I've heard people love this. I've heard people dislike this. But Caleb Lomu has been there. The 49ers have seen him face to face. He's come in for the visit. 6'6", 300 to 310 pounds, more athletic, lighter build. And that actually lines up. Better athlete in space, fits the outside zone run scheme, high upside, pass protector. If Proctor is the power pick, then Lomu is more of the system fit, if that makes sense. And I would like either one of those picks to see the 49ers prioritize the offensive line. Maybe in the future that will let whoever we have on that offensive line know that every other season we're not just going to be treated like an ATM machine. Now, I've said it all along. Trent Williams is the man. Trent Williams at 38 is still at the top of the league at left tackle. First ballot Hall of Famer. And I like Trent. I do. And I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad at Trent wanting to get his bag. He's earned his bag. He had a great season last year. He deserves the money. But the reality is the Niners have to start taking this offensive line seriously. If you take a look at what the Niners were able to do last year, I really do consider it a miracle. You take a look at the fact that last season, as far as offensive weapons, of course you had Christian McCaffrey. You had Jawan Jennings. I've always liked Jawan Jennings. I like the way he plays, the way he blocks. I know he gets into it with folks every now and again. He's just one of those guys, one of those dudes, man. And I already miss him. I know he's not going to be on the Niners, and I miss that. But the reality is that man is still a free agent right now. So think about that. Brock Purdy missed all the games at the beginning of the season, comes back, and he's basically throwing to guys that he has no business throwing to because his top targets are all hurt. So can you imagine a world now going into next season with a Mike Evans, fingers crossed, that my man George Kittle can get out there. You still have Christian McCaffrey. You've got guys. You've brought in a Christian Kirk. So I feel like a lot of folks have just said wide receivers to pick. And please understand, that makes a lot of sense. If the 49ers go wide receiver at 27, it will fit the mold. It'll fit the scheme of what they've really always done. And it makes sense. It does. I just feel like for the short term, wide receiver's fine. Address it next year. Everybody's saying that next year is going to be a historic draft. You're going to have 8 quarterbacks taken in the first round. Spoiler alert, faithful. The 49ers don't have to worry about a quarterback. They've locked up their guy. They've locked up Brock Purdy. So let those 8 picks go. That's 8 picks. That's not a wide receiver. Okay? So you can focus on long-term wide receiver stability, next year. If you think about it like this, look what the Niners have done this year. Coming into this season, coming into this free agency period, a lot of people thought that Juwan Jennings would get re-signed just because the Niners had nobody. What did they do? They got a really good deal with Mike Evans, brought in a guy like Christian Kirk. Fingers crossed, Ricky Pearsall can stay healthy. You've got Jacob Cowing. You've got Jordan Watkins. The wide receiver room should be good. You can really focus on that, honestly, next year. But if you go ahead and shore up the trenches now, it will help for long-term stability. That way you can go after this. You can make wide receiver a priority next year when you've got everything under control this year. If you draft a wide receiver, is he going to be the 4th guy? The 5th guy? Just from Kyle's history, Jacob Cowing didn't get out there last year, of course, because he was injured most of the season, or really before the season even started. His season was over before the season started. I just really thought that Jordan Watkins would get an opportunity to get out there. But again, another injury situation. So I know that Ricky got a lot of playing time, and Kyle does. Brandon Ayuk, he got a lot of playing time. But I just see how deep the room is right now at this point. I really feel like you can wait. You can wait till next year to focus on that long-term wide receiver plan. And I know in a way that, you're putting your cards out there on the table that obviously if Mike Evans really technically has a 2-year deal, but really it's a 1-year deal, and then you have Christian Kirk, that's a 1-year deal. It's like letting the whole NFL know you're going wide receiver. It is what it is. So for me, I feel like just focusing on the trenches, specifically on the offensive line, specifically at tackle, in fact, is where the Niners are going to go if they stay at pick 27. If for whatever reason Proctor, Lomu are both not there, I would not even be surprised if a Max Iheanachor isn't the direction they go. I know that kid has not played a lot of football, but man, the numbers, the intangibles, the possibilities with that kid learning behind a Trent Williams, who knows? I just really feel like this is the direction that the 49ers are going to go with in the first round. And I could see them doubling down. Like I said, 58, right after it, going guard. Jennings Dunker is a guy that I really have my eyes on. I think a lot of folks have their eyes on. Hopefully he'll be available come 58 and we can double up in the trenches. We got 4 fourth-round picks. Maybe we can make some movement there, get a third-round pick, address edge rusher there. Maybe if we can package a couple of those, move up into the 3rd round, go ahead and address that there. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Do you think I've fallen and bumped my head with the Niners doubling down and going offensive line, possibly even back-to-back in this draft? Like I said, I have the Niners taking offensive tackle if they stay with the 27th overall pick. Now, it wouldn't hurt my feelings at all if for whatever reason, and this has happened on a couple of my mock drafts that I've done for whatever reason, the New England Patriots have just been wanting to trade with the 49ers in a lot of my mocks. Could the Niners trade back and still get their guy and maybe stack an additional second round pick? Man, would that not be nice? Faithful, that's the show for today. Tell me what you think in the comments. As always, thank you so very much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Share the channel if you happen to bump into another faithful. Show them the channel. It absolutely helps out, guys. As always, take care, be blessed, and go Niners.